Om Sadashivasamaramabham Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam. Punjabification, people have fallen in love with your chanting, especially people from states and everything. So can you please chant the Dhyana slokas and the first two verses?
Okay, Swamiji. See, there is no swara indicated.
Yeah, there's not much of swara. Yeah.
Swara. Even though Ramakrishna mission indicates some swara, but
Yeah.
I haven't heard anyone using. That's why I do the normal
Yeah,
chanting.
no problems. Yeah.
Om Om Vakme Manadi Pradishtita Mano Me Vachit Pradishtitam Avir Me Eti Vedasya Ma Anistaha Sudam Me Ma Prahasihi Anena Ajitena Horhatran Sadadami Tatsadam Ridam Vadishyami Satyam Vadishyami Tatmavavadu Tatvaktaramavadu Avadu Mam Avadu Vaktaram Om Shanti 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 Verse 1 Atma Va Idameka Evagra Asit Na Anyat Kinchana Mishate Sa Ikshada Logato Suja Iti.
Okay, we'll see that much today at least. So last time we saw the meaning of the whole Dhyana slokas. This Dhyana slokas was slightly different. You have not heard it before. That's why I went over the whole thing. Any questions, clarifications, or shall we go ahead? Okay. This Dhyana sloka is pretty simple anyway. So if you look at this verse, Sa Atma Va Idamagram Asit. Before all this, Idam Agra. So when you say Idam Agra, it means what? Yat idantaya gocharati. What you see as this. Whatever you have a subject or object relationship with, whatever can be objectified by you. In short, the whole creation. Okay. In short, this whole creation. So before the whole creation, he says, what was there? Atma eva asit. Normally the term, for example, would be Brahman was there. But he says Atma was there. Why? The whole intent of every Upanishad is to see Atma as Brahman. Is to realize this. Atma is nothing but Brahman. So because of that, they are very often interchangeably used. Not randomly, not carelessly, but deliberately. Deliberately used. Because when you are, if you have to understand that you are everything, since we have seen a couple of Upanishads, where it has been explained quite well, one needs to see oneself as everything, and to see oneself as everything, what stands in your understanding is this creation. Because the creation that you experience is so real. Yeah. Because, nobody in their senses is going to say all this is not there. No philosophy, no theology can dismiss your experience. They have to validate your experience and explain from their perspective what it is. And that explanation, the fact may be beyond logic. Before all this, Atma is there. How do you know? How do you know? How can you figure it out that Atma was there before everything? In fact, Before everything, that something was there can only be speculated, it cannot be proved. Even in science, it's a speculation. Plasma state of matter, this, that, etc. is purely speculative. Up to now, we have no proof. Even if later on you get proof that before the Big Bang, what was there was a super dense material plasma state. Okay. So where did that come from? Because if there is something that is conditioned by time and space, then what was there before time and space? Time and space are relative, therefore they also have to be taken as created or manifested entities. That if you have read the brief history of time, at least if you have survived the first 2 chapters, most people don't survive more than that. It is difficult. Unless you have a heavy science background, it is difficult to read the whole book. Okay. You will understand that time and space came into existence with the Big Bang. In fact, the creation has to start with time and space. Why? Because we find everything is conditioned by time and space. So, really speaking, you cannot even ask before time and space what was there. Because the concept of before is time based. But if you are saying time started at a given point, you call it manifestation, you call it creation, call it what you want, it doesn't matter. If you are saying time started at a point, 0 point, then what is 0 minus 1? It will come. Because if the Big Bang was an event, that event should have time, space, observer. See, this is the biggest argument against the materialistic paradigm of science. Materialistic paradigm of science, I mean that everything has come from material. Consciousness is an evolute of matter. When matter evolves enough to form the brain, etc., and that organizing the information, that is the work of consciousness. So, in science, whichever system you follow, biology, biocentrism or physics, okay, consciousness is an evolute of matter. And if you say that, and you are saying Big Bang was an event, by your own definition, there cannot be an event without an observer. That's definition in science. Every event can be called an event only if there is an observer. So, are you saying the observer of the event came billions of years after the event happened? And you are seeing it in retrospect? That will knock off the very base for science itself. They half believe in it. That is why they are trying to capture the vibrations or the waves of light that happened during the Big Bang. There is a half belief in that. That's why all these telescopes trying to see further and further out, because the wave of light has travelled. Can we capture something reflected from something, etc., etc. But if you are saying retrospective observer, your science is gone. Or you let us say there is no observer. So here is where Vedanta comes and says, before all this, what was there was that conscious entity. So consciousness is not an evolute of matter. Matter is actually a grossification of consciousness. Ulta. So before all this, what was there was one consciousness. And if this consciousness is a source of time and space, that consciousness also has to be the reality behind every empirical existence, every functional existence that you see. Because either you are looking at it as manifestation or creation. In other words, creation is a term religious people use. Manifestation is a term which scientists and Vedantins will use. Okay? From a material, from the pot. You'll say pot was created, that's colloquial language. But where is the pot? The pot is nothing but clay. Therefore, the pot becomes a manifestation of clay. To clay, you add a name and form, you get pot. To cloth, you add a name and form, you get a kurta. That's all. So, you can call it manifestation. Whatever you call it, whether you call it manifestation, creation, etc., one thing you will observe, whatever is there in the cause has to inhere in the effect. There may be value additions, because the clay cannot carry water, a pot can carry water. That value addition because of name and form. Cloth. If I had not stitched it, it will be called an upavastram or an angavastram. Upavastram is a most scientific term. Angavastram, Maharashtrians will get a bit upset on that because it has got other lakshanas in Marathi. Okay. But like this, it's a kurta. Well, just name and form, added, cut, chop, paste. Everything is cut, chop, paste only. Either you use a physical scissors or use chemical scissors, but the fact is same. So when you're looking at it that way, everything is a manifestation of Atma, he says. Atma, Brahman, this consciousness. Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahman, which we saw in Aitareya. And same consciousness has manifested. Okay. What was there before was only the consciousness. Now, to indicate that it was conscious and not just plain material, he says, Sa Aikshata Lokan Anusraja iti. Sa Aikshata. It's a big discussion about this in the Brahma Sutras. That discussion we will see if you all survive this and come to Brahma Sutras. Okay. Yeah, if the class as a whole survives all the Upanishads and comes to Brahma Sutras, we will see it happily. So, Aikshata. He desired, he willed. Because desire or willing can be there only in a conscious entity. So now here the students of Vedanta can ask another question. Consciousness cannot think or will. It is beyond thought, beyond willing. Because remember, it's beyond time and space. Because to think or to will implies there is a slight modification inside. If something is beyond time and space, it cannot modify. And in the scriptures, in the Shastra, the Upanishad, it has been described as avyayam, that which doesn't change. Nityam. फिर ये क्या बात होता है? How can you say that? Okay. So to explain this, okay, we bring in the idea of Maya. Now what is Maya? That which is not there is called Maya. Ya, that, feminine, ya, otherwise would have become yaha or yat, ya. Ma, which is not there. Ma is a nice way of saying not there. Okay. Ya, ma, that which is not there. Sa, that is Maya. Maya, two syllables. No? So, that which is not there is called Maya. Not there means what? Not there in an absolute sense. Why do you have to say that something is there but it is not there? When will you use the term, hey, what is responsible is Maya, but she is not really there? When there is an appearance, when something does not have the same degree of reality as everything else you are doing. Like here, all of us are another thing. Now, I can say a snake is not there here. Why should I even say that? How will a snake ever come here? The snakes can't come into this place. Yeah. So, what is the need for me to say that? There is no need. But if somebody is seeing a snake, I'll have to say that snake is not there, because there is no real snake there. So now what? Maya is a postulate. It is presented as an apparent power of Brahman, because of which Brahman can manifest as the creation. There's a nice story about this. How do you say that? There was a very rich businessman, okay, filthy rich. Why in English you have to say filthy rich, I don't understand. Because somewhere in your religious understanding, money is evil. Rich man cannot go to heaven. Why not? Money is what money does here. You can do so much of good with it. What's wrong with money? But somewhere in your subconscious, money is neither good nor bad. Money is a tool to get things done. Yeah. Resources, that's all. Anyway, here is a very rich businessman. And when he died, he did not leave all his assets equally to his 3 sons. He did not leave. I mean, it's his choice. He has made the money. He can leave it as he wants it. For the first son, he gave half of everything. Second, he gave only 1/6. Sorry, 1/3. And for the third son, he gave 1/9. Wastrel character. Thoda le lo. Too much. Both ladla hua tha. If he had been too pampered, so let him earn his living, but I'll give him something. So they had good rapport between them. They said, fine, we will distribute everything like that. No problems, no fights. But this is a rich man, right? Like how you have rich people have a fleet of a car collection. I have a Porsche, I have a Merc, I have this, I have that. Like that, this guy had 17 elephants. What is half of 17? What is 1/3 of 17? It's an odd number, not an even number to be divided by 2. No? So there is a big argument about that. Yeah. The younger son feeling, as it is, I am getting only 1/9. Why can't the eldest take one less and then we will divide the others? And the eldest saying, the father's wish. So I can't go against that. Okay, anyway, I am getting more. So it became a discussion, all charcha was going on. Just when the local king passed by. So what is the discussion about? Old man created problems for us when alive. Dead was also creating problems from beyond the grave. Control freak he is. When you leave wills, be careful, okay? For half of us at least here is time to write our wills and all that. Okay, be careful. Unless you are a sadhu like me, problem nahi hai. So the king said, no problems. Let me add my elephant, my tusker to the line. Last one, Elmina. What is your share? 50%. Half of 18 is what? 9. Take it. What is yours? 3. You take it. What is yours? 2. 1/9. Take it. What about that elephant? That is mine. I am getting on it and riding away. Sankhya Purna Matram. That 18th was only to make the thing complete. Similarly, Maya is an explanation for the creation. How Brahman can manifest. Logical. The Upanishad is not saying it's all beyond logic, okay, you better take it in good faith. It's not saying that. Agreed, it is beyond logic. But for me to understand it, it has to be logically explained. It cannot be illogically said. You cannot say, hey, Ishvara can do anything, okay, forget it. Are Ishvara hai kya nahi, pehla prove karo na. So what is Ishvara? Brahman manifesting through Maya is called Ishvara, a name. So that you will understand from what standpoint we are talking. What is this total consciousness? Brahman. What is the individual consciousness? Atma. Two names, one and the same entity. Standpoint. It's just standpoint. So generally, when the term Atma is used, it's from the individual standpoint. Term Brahman is used from the total standpoint. But as I said last time and in the beginning, sometimes they are interchanged so that you will not forget they are one and the same thing. Two names does not mean two entities. Two names only means two standpoints. Then what is Ishvara? When you are looking at the same Brahman through the standpoint of Maya, he gains another name, Ishvara. So what is Ishvara? Brahman. So when you use the word Brahman, you are referring to pure consciousness. When you use the word Ishvara, you are referring to consciousness manifest through Maya. So Ishvara, Bhagavan, etc., whatever you want to call it. With this understanding, you can use any term. Without this understanding, if you are using any term, thoda problem ho sakta hai. Yeah?
I am not getting the difference between Ishvara and Brahman.
Yeah. Brahman is consciousness. Now for consciousness to manifest, Maya has to be there. Correct? So when you are looking at consciousness manifesting through Maya, that state, that play, you will say that is Ishvara.
Are we saying Ishvara is an entity?
Huh?
Are we saying that Ishvara is an entity?
Ishvara is?
A separate entity?
Ishvara is consciousness manifesting through Maya. So what is the truth of Ishvara? Consciousness manifesting through Maya is Ishvara. So what is the truth of Ishvara? Consciousness. Now the problem comes because of our bhakti also. Our bhakti, which is meant to elevate, and it does elevate, also can be a conditioning at certain time. How can Ishvara be something like this? Why? Because very few, a handful of people, really relate to Ishvara as consciousness manifest through Maya. Because if you are relating to that, you should actually be relating to the Vishwarupa of the Gita. The whole creation, known, unknown, everything is Ishvara. So what is there to relate? Just be. Just be. Yeah. Then for the sake of, if I am at that level, no issues, okay? You don't have to go into a temple. Well, you understand everything is Ishvara. No? What is not Ishvara? Including the neighbor who creates problems for you. Therefore, it's difficult. Therefore, the same Ishvara you will invoke as a Devata. What is a Devata? An aspect. So you're doing a puja. What is the first thing you will worship? Ganesha, Vignaharaha. Yeah, Atma Puja is done, but people ignore that. Actually speaking, Atma Puja, you invoke the Guru, you invoke Ganesha, then you do the Homa or the Puja. But let us say, I'm speaking in English only, don't worry. So, you are invoking an aspect of Ishvara, so that becomes a Devata, because only an aspect. Now here is the funny part. When you are looking at Ishvara only as Vignaharaha, who will remove all my problems. I got a lot of issues in my life, lot of problems. So, Lord, please remove all that. Vignaharaha, Ganesha. Lord, problem है, कुछ नहीं है. माल है तो ताल है, नहीं तो कंगाल है. कंगाल हूँ मैं, क्या करेगा? Okay. Invoke as Lakshmi Narayana, etc. One aspect only. Okay. So now you have the idea of Devatas coming in. And in this book you will also find another thing. In this Upanishad, which will come later on. But I am introducing the topic right here. Because the topic of Ishvara has to be handled in this verse itself. The totality of anything is an aspect of Ishvara. It's called a Devata. Hearing, total hearing power in the world, total listening power. You'll have Dig Devatas. Because that power belongs to you, me or Ishvara. Remember, Ishvara was there before all this. So this is not my ear, it's Ishvara's ear actually speaking. I am only aggrandizing it and using it. And Ishvara says, le khel le thoda time. Sometime use it. Okay. I can hold things. In fact, I only know to hold, I don't know to let go. So the total grasping power, holding on, is Ishvara's. Only through that aspect, Indra. So every sense organ, every organ of action will have a Devata. The Devata is a totality, and the totality is an aspect of Ishvara. Up to now clear? Okay. Then let me take one more confusing step. Okay. So now you have one aspect which is part of Ishvara. Okay. So now, when I am worshipping, say Ganesha, first worship is to Ganesha. So, if I am worshipping Ganesha, I can invoke Ganesha as a Devata, or I can invoke whole of Ishvara in Ganesha. When I am saying only Vignaharaha, that means Devata. No, he is Ishvara himself, but right now Vignaharaha. Then it's a different idea altogether. This is why I always say, I have given this example. I go to a doctor, he says, Doctor, my toe, but I can't bring up my toe and show it here because it really happened. I injured my toe. Let's say I injured my finger. So I went to the doctor and said, is there a fracture or something? Can you just check? I checked, I don't think there is a fracture. So he did an X-ray of the, no, nothing, it's all fine. Okay. Can I give you some painkiller? It's only pain. Na? Big deal. Why should I take painkillers unnecessarily? stuff into me and putting a strain on my liver and my kidneys. Nahi chahiye. I'll keep some SOS, some samples I have. Okay, aise pada hai. Now, when I am showing my toe or my finger to him and he is examining it and seeing it, what is he doing? He is not examining the whole me. Okay? He is not doing an angio. Kuch block hai kya? Yeah, it's not connected. Yeah. Not necessary. Do you have a fatty liver? What does that got to do with my toe? Diabetes, fir bhi he can say, because if there is some internal bleeding, blood clot, etc., and then there is diabetes, he might as well check up that much is there. But basically, he's focused on the toe or on my pinky, my little finger. Let's say both of us are attending somebody else's lecture. Rishikesh gaya, some local Mandaleshwar came. Let's say Kailas Ashram Mahamandaleshwar came. Okay. मैंने कहा हाँ महाराज जी आइए थोड़ा दो शब्द बताएगी हमारा विद्यार्थी लोग को, हमारा मुमुक्षु लोग. Will you say a few words to your mumukshus? He said, हाँ. You are listening and you want to draw my attention. You tap my little finger. Are you looking at this as little finger or are you invoking whole of me in this little finger? You expect my full attention, no? Or do I say, tap my little finger, I'll give you little attention. Kataksha. You pull my hand, little more attention. To get my total attention, you'll have to give me a whole body massage. ऐसा नहीं होता है. Thank God. Thank God. So what? In my little finger, you are invoking whole of me. When the doctor examined it, he was looking at it as only little finger. Devata and Ishvara. Can you see? In one form, Ganesha, you can invoke the Devata, little finger, or Ishvara, the whole thing, entity. That will depend upon your level of understanding. And when you start off, your understanding is not of Ishvara. Samji, it is there. Look at your puja rooms. Even look at my puja room. How many murtis and photographs you have? सबको ले लेगा कोई. I don't leave out anyone. Problem नहीं चाहिए मेरे को. Keep everyone happy. Correct? Actually, one is enough because you need some point to relate. So, what is your Ishta Devata? Devi. Okay, Kula Devata is also Devi. All right, fine. Keep the Shri Yantra there. Na? Devi's presence is guaranteed. But I need a Murti also. Why? Because you can't relate just to a geographical form. A geometrical form you are not being able to relate to. Therefore, what are you doing? Making God in your own image. And what do some religions say? God made man in his own image. If both are taken as true, imagine God and man coming face to face. Both will say, my creator. Can you imagine a funny situation like that? We are invoking. There are certain traditional forms, we invoke along those traditional forms. If you want to invoke your own forms, you can. Outside the Calcutta High Court, somebody went and put a linga. If you are going to enter our courts, you better have all Ishvara's grace with you. Because 10 years you won't get a solution anyway. 10 years? I'm being too kind. Property disputes, the longest property dispute in India went for decades. The Rama Janmabhoomi case went for a decade. Property dispute. You mean people died for a property? What are you talking about? It is not a property. They reduced it to a property dispute. Anyway, so they put a linga outside and called it High Court Ishvara. Go, when you go to Calcutta, go see that High Court Ishvara. There is this thing there. I heard it has become a big temple. Unless our Didi had some mischief to play in there. Hey, you invoke. So, it is up to you. How do you see it? To see Ishvara as nothing but Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahman, that is the highest way of seeing Ishvara. That Ishvara is non-different from me is what the message of the Upanishad is. Everything else is at your level of growth, which is fine. You start from where you are and reach there. Because one needs bhakti in life. Even though we are focusing on knowledge here, one needs bhakti in our life to grow. One cannot be a karma yogi without bhakti. That Ishvara Arpanam and Prasada Buddhi cannot come in without some bhakti. And therefore, for that bhakti, you may need some aspect of visualization, of personalization, which is fine. So, what is the easiest way of invoking Ishvara? It's called your Ishtam, Ishta Devata. What you can relate to. Rama, Krishna, Devi, what do you relate to? Easiest way. Pick up and relate. Or, you say Kula Devi or Kula Devata. Your ancestors have worshipped from a lot of time. Therefore, their grace and blessings has to come through to you. For that, you have to open it up by invoking the Kula Devata, the grace flow. One main problem I have seen when I examine the lives of city dwellers whose parents moved from the villages to the city is they all forgotten Kula Devata. There are ways of finding out who is your Kula Devata, okay? I have a friend who is an astrologer who I saw him last month, December, doing it so beautifully in one of my family whom I am friend philosopher guide to. They are not yet students, but I am a friend philosopher guide to them in their house. How beautifully he started tracing with questions and his prashna, beautifully traced what the Kula Devata was. So go by your Kula Devata then. Yeah, Bharati, you have a question?
Swamiji, this Kula Devata, I don't see it in North Indians.
Unfortunate, because of foreign invasions, many of it got destroyed. But all of you have, and it is not impossible to find it. It's difficult, but it can be done. The other option of look, yeah?
Swamiji, I have heard that the Kula Devata is always the Devi. Is it true?
Not necessary, no.
Thank you, Swamiji.
Yeah. The another way of looking at it is, go by your horoscope. What do you need to strengthen? What do you need to weaken? My guru is weak. That's why luck is not in favoring me. Okay. Worship Vishnu. Guru Brihaspati, the planet, is indicating what is the problem in your life. Devata is, Brihaspati itself can be a Devata. You can also worship Vishnu for that. My Mangal is very strong, very good. Mangal is strong means it will give you a lot of courage, strength, bravery, all that will be there. It will also give you some hidden enemies, but you will get the strength to overcome them, so no problems. Shani is strong, excellent, excellent, sadhu ban jayega. Chances of being a sadhu is high. If Shani is strong, your spiritual, this is very strong. Mangal is afflicted, they will say, yeah, Mangalik hai. Then worship Durga. Worship Durga. Shani is afflicted, worship Shani directly during your Sadesati period, for example. Or North India, you will worship Hanumanji. And in South, especially Kerala, there is a this, you worship Ayyappa. If Shani is a problem. So, what I am trying to say, these are all traditional religious ways of connecting up. On the basis of your psychological maturity will be your understanding of Ishvara. If you are only looking to fix and manage your life, Devatas, nothing wrong. Udaraha sarva evete, na? Krishna in the Gita. Yeah. Not a problem. If you are a Jignasu, etc., move from that Devata level, move to Ishvara level. And for being a Jnani, that Ishvara is nothing but Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahman Yo Aham Asmi iti. That is the thing one needs to understand. Okay, it's a digression. So he says, before all this that was there was only one consciousness. And by saying he thought, you are bringing in the idea that it is not inert material, it is conscious entity. So conscious entity. And the thinking, feeling, desiring, etc. is possible only because of Maya Shakti. Is Maya Shakti something that means it's only conceptual imagination? Was the king's elephant conceptual imagination? Go to war with the king, you will understand what that elephant can do. It's a war elephant. It has got a functional validity. Why? Because now you are going to infer what is Maya made of by inferring what is there in creation. What is there in creation? Knowledge, intelligence. Because the whole thing can be intelligently studied. Whether the movement of the planets, there is intelligence guiding the whole thing. Or a banyan seed, tiny little thing, genetic coding of the whole tree is there. Or a human seed, a zygote, two cells together, the whole genetic coding of that guy's 80-year-old life is there, available there in that thing. There is a lot of intelligence is present. A lot of knowledge is present. A lot of the noble emotions, love, compassion, justice, mercy, etc. are instinctively known to people. All this is given a catch-all term called sattva. All things bright and beautiful, sattva. Because you find that here. So the source, the total goodness that is there is called sattva. Then, for creation to happen, that knowledge, etc., has to express as desire and action. So desire, action, passion, all that will be called rajas, totality, rajo gunaha. Then there is inert material, rocks, this, that, etc. And inertia. Inertia is a very important principle in physics. You need that. And expressing in the mind as laziness, indolence, etc. Tamas, totality. That means Maya Shakti has got Sattva, Rajas, Tamas now. Why? You find all that in the creation also. It is stated in the Upanishads. It is supported by your inference or understood by inference. logically. Tell me one creation, one object in the creation which does not have sattva, rajas, tamas. Even an inert thing. Sattva, rajas, tamas will always be there. Yeah? Yeah, Rajesh.
Swamiji, there is something called Turiya, isn't it? The fourth.
Turiya has got nothing to do with sattva, rajas, tamas.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, Swamiji.
Okay. So when you are talking of sattva, rajas, tamas, this is what Maya is about. So the consciousness is now manifesting through all this. Yeah, Karthik. You have a question?
In inert matter, how do we say there is sattva guna?
In physical matter?
Yes,
Inert matter. Because there is knowledge, it can be studied.
Oh, I see.
Yeah. Yeah. It can be, is knowledge, it can be studied. No? So, this is where the whole world is. So, all this is there, all this is implied in the statement. Atma va idamagram asit. There was nothing that moved. He says that. No? Okay. He says that. What is that? Nanyat kinchana mishat. Okay. He says there was nothing there, including what winked. Mishat. Imeshat. Wing meaning no movement, no willing, no violation. There is nothing. So all that has to emerge from a source. So to indicate that source is consciousness, you will always present a theory of creation. Now one theory of creation can be replaced by other theory of creation, can be replaced by science. Once you are willing to accept the fact that it has to come from a conscious source, any theory is fine. These are dialectical theories. You can have scientific theories. You have a logician theory, Nayayika's theory. You can have a Sankhya theory. You can have an existential theory. Doesn't matter. All these theories, what are they showing? Whether it is from science to theology, that it came from a single source. Science put it as inert matter, pure theology, religions will put it as a person. Both have their limitation. If it is science of pure matter, they cannot explain away consciousness and observer issues. If it is theology, then you are making your God as a big brother somewhere. There is a scientific writer, I forget his name. He makes a lot of videos and puts it up on the YouTube, etc. What is his name now? I forget. But he says, elderly gentleman, but very humorous speaker, is, religion has convinced. How they manage to convince you, I can't understand. That you have a big brother in the sky who is watching everything that you're doing all the time. And if you're doing all the bad things, he'll transport you to another place. Or if you are a good human being and obey all the laws, he said he'll transport you to a better place. All without logic and reason. How do you manage to convince human beings like this? Half of humanity believes this. Yeah. You know his name?
George Carlin.
Huh?
George Carlin.
Yeah. That's the guy. Yeah. So, so that is the problem of theology. Because you will say God all powerful, all pervading where he is in Timbuktu. Not to hurt any particular religious belief, I am saying he is in Timbuktu. All of you will postulate in a way. But Hinduism also does that. Yes. What are we? Stages of understanding. As Devata, you are looking at it. Then it is okay. Our understanding is there is only consciousness. There is only God, nothing else is there. But stages of understanding. Yeah. So theology has got a problem, science has another problem. Any system of thought you take is based on logic and inference, therefore will be limited. Because logic and inference will not work where time and space has no access to. Okay, I am talking a lot of epistemological stuff, okay? Think about it, where time and space have no access, how will your logic and inference work? Why? Where is your data for logic? Where is your data for inference? All data is within time and space. So this is presented in Vedanta in such a manner that there is neither the problem of theology nor the problem of science. So now the historical perspective will come into place. So Swamiji, this was an evolute of thought. When seeing all the limitations, this developed as an evolute of thought. Sorry, this was the first thing that was manifested in India. The first books ever written were the Veda, this is part of the Veda. So before other schools of thought came up, the Veda was there. Because all other schools of thought have a history behind it. At this period, somebody said this, somebody wrote this, somebody talked about it, like that, you will place it. This is before that, it is prehistorical. So this was the first thought in India. So how can you put it as an evolute of thought? It is not an evolute of thought. It's not a historical development of thought. It's important to understand this, because this is an argument you will face, that the whole thing was a historical development of thought. Then that has to be the latest. There are some people who claim we are the latest. But when you examine what is there, it is pathetic. Yeah. If you don't believe in me, you chop off his head. What type of evolute of thought is that? Yeah. If you don't believe in me, you have to pay a tax to me. If you don't pay the tax, be ready for your head. And even if you take a pact, I can seize your property. All I have to do is make a declaration. Is that an evolute of thought, or is that a degeneration of thinking? Yeah. Even a dictator does not go to that extent. So, the latest is not necessarily always right. A lot of people in US are having second thoughts. We expected it. He is a disruptor. His job is to disrupt. We need someone like that also. Good. Yeah. So, this is not a theological development. This is not a historical evolution of thought. This is not a scientific product. Vedanta stands independently as a pramana by itself, to be logically understood. So this is what Ishvara is now. Before all this, what was there was what? You. You remember, Brahman and Atma is one and the same thing. So what was there? I was there before the whole creation. That's megalomania. Only if I take the I as my thinking, feeling, doing entity, then it is megalomania, correct. If I are taking it myself as consciousness, something to be understood by those who are hearing. Because as much as I say, before the creation, what was there was me, I am going to say the same thing, before the creation, what was there was you. At that time, there was no me and you, no problems. Between there, what was there was not me, there is no me and you there is only one consciousness. Yeah. So that is the whole thing. So Upanishads love to start with a bang. Okay, so this is what it is, what was there before creation. Now from here he will have a theory of creation, how the whole thing came about, etc. As I said, once you understand that what is there is only consciousness, one theory can be replaced by another theory. Now, I can say what is there was only one consciousness, okay, and this consciousness manifested itself as a whole creation, the Big Bang, it's all on. So time and space, expanding time and space was created. When it all cooled down, gases emerges, that. Now it's a scientific theory of how creation came into. This world came, universe came about. One theory. The only problem in that theory is difficult to bring in devatas. Otherwise, that can be a valid theory. No issues. What's the problem? Yeah. Or you have a 5-element model of creation. Akasha, Vayu, Agni, Apa, Prithvi, which we saw in Aitareya. Time, space, gases, air, energy in form of fire or suns, and then all that. Water, rain, etc. Earth, solid material, planets, earth, etc. 5-element model. It's also fine. Once understand that there is consciousness, Ishvara, then any model is fine. You can replace one model with another model, it's okay. Each will have some advantage, some disadvantage. So here he gives a model by which you can also bring in devatas, etc. into it. Okay. From the next verse onwards, he brings in, okay, he thought, let me manifest as many. Then how the whole manifestation came, etc., etc. Some 3-4 verses he spends on that. Okay. So that next class we will complete that whole thing in one shot. Okay. Now that you understood this much, the next can be quickly done. Okay. So good place to stop. Om Tat Sat.